What's up guys, welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video, and this is my first video in a series of simulated universe guides, and we'll be going over all the curios that are in the game as of patch 1.0. Now I think most of the curios are pretty straightforward. There's a ton of mediocre ones and quite a few that I think are bait. Some of these might seem good at first glance, but honestly they're not going to do much to help you complete your run. And I'll explain that in a little bit, but let's start off with the easy ones. There are 5 punishment curios that just straight up give you a negative effect. You can only get these as punishments from a random event, so there's no need to worry about actually picking these when presented with a set of choices, but the Divination, Black Forest, Perpetual Motion, IPC, and Mechanical Cuckoo are all bad, and you definitely don't want to see these during your run if you can help it. You just go in the punishment tier, they're kind of in a category on their own. Next, we'll be looking at the wax seals. Now, each path has a version of the wax seal that will instantly gain you 1 blessing from that path and increase the chances for blessings of that path to appear as rewards. If you see a wax seal of your chosen path, it's basically an insta-pick, unless you're at the end of your run. Avoid picking a seal of a different path if you can help it, but if you absolutely must pick one, some are going to be better than others. The Hunt and Preservation seals are probably the most generally useful, as they have a lot of blessings that can be useful and benefit any team comp, while the rest are going to be very dependent on your specific team and the other buffs that you have. So the Destruction, the Remembrance, Abundance, Elation, and Nihility wax seals can help if you have the right set of buffs and right team, but most of the time they're going to be a hindrance and you're not going to want to pick these because they only decrease the chances of you getting blessings from the path that you actually want. I'll go over each path in more specific depth and specific strategies in a video to come, so stay tuned for those in the future and subscribe if you want to see more of these in-depth simulated universe guide videos. Now the next group of curios we have are the error curios. You can sometimes get these around the middle of your run, and at first they have a negative effect, but after completing 3 battles they are fixed, and then switch to giving you a positive buff for the rest of your run. I suggest always taking these when offered, as the game will generally offer you 3 relatively low-level battles on the floor, so that you can fix these curios without much risk to your team. Of the 5, the ones that I find to be the best are the Mysterious Code and the Infinitely Recursive Code that increase damage and recover extra skill points respectively. The Mysterious Code and the Infinitely Recursive Code. The Elegant Code advances your character's action by 25% after using a skill. This can be pretty good too, depending on your team. And then we have the Corrupted Code, which generates 40 energy when a character breaks enemy weaknesses, which isn't bad as well. A little bit less impactful than the previous ones, but still pretty good. The Odd and Normal Code restore HP when using ultimates and reduce damage by 25% when a character's HP is under 50%. I don't value these two that much, since offensive buffs are generally much better than defensive ones in Simulated Universe, because you generally want to be killing the bosses as quickly as possible before they enter Berserk mode. But if you're having trouble sustaining your team or don't really have much healing, feel free to pick either of these. I'm actually going to put these 2 up in the best tier. They're kind of probably going to be in like the bottom of the best tier, in my opinion. There's better curios out there, but the Mysterious Code and Infinitely Recursive Code are probably the 2 best in my opinion. Now, we'll go over the other random curios that you may encounter over the course of your run. The Dimension Reduction Dice allows you to choose 1 extra blessing, but reduces the number of available blessings by 2. This effect can be triggered twice. This curio is just okay. You're essentially getting 2 out of 4 blessings instead of choosing 1 out of 3. And put this one in the decent/good tier. Next we have the Chaos Tramites, or Tramites, I have no idea how to pronounce that, but this one increases the number of free blessing resets by 1. This is a top tier curio in my opinion, as it lets you reroll your choices for free, greatly increasing the chances of finding blessings of your chosen path. Now, obviously it's better if you get it early, but even in some of the later stages, it can still give you pretty decent value, as it essentially represents like, you know, maybe 60 to 90 cosmic fragments if you get it later in your run. Now, the Warping Compound Eye levels up all 1-star blessings that appear after battle. This one is good if you get it early. Later on in your run, you're going to be looking for more of the 3-star blessings, so this one diminishes in value as you progress in the simulator universe. So it goes in the good early, bad late tier. The Fruit of the Alien Tree is our first trap curio.
It's a trap! It's a trap!
It allows you a one-time free revive and heals your team after a battle. Most of the time, if your characters are dying, you're not going to be making it much further anyway, so the chances that this thing actually saves you and helps you complete your run are going to be pretty slim. So it goes in the bad tier, in my opinion. Next, we have the Casket of Inaccuracy. This gives you 1 to 2 random blessings. And random blessings are not that great generally, but it's still not terrible. This goes kind of at the lower end of the good tier, but you could make a case for it being bad, since it may give you something that you really don't want. But you're generally looking for better choices, but at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing you can pick. Ambergris Cheese restores 30% of your HP after winning a battle. This one's another trap that doesn't offer much long-term value. Additionally, if you're on a path of destruction, this curio actually has negative synergy with the other blessings and curios that you're going to want to be picking up on that path. Next up, we have the Fortune Glue. I'm putting this one top tier, since it allows your next blessing selection to guarantee all 3-star blessing choices. Since most paths are highly dependent on getting the 3-star blessings, this is a great curio to get, as it greatly increases the chances of finding that crucial blessing to make or break your run. Next up, we have the Parchment That Always Eats, which may seem decent at first. It damages all enemies by 30% of their max HP. However, it doesn't work on bosses after phase 1, making it pretty mediocre in the most crucial fights in the simulated universe. I'd say it's bad, and you're generally looking for better, in my opinion. Goes maybe near the top of the bad tier. Next up, we have the Doctor's Robe, which is one of the best, if not the best curios in the game, in my opinion. It gives you max path resonance energy at the start of every fight and increases the path resonance damage by 40%. Apart from the Abundance Path and I think the Nihility Path, which, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think the Nihility Path scales with the resonance path damage here provided by the robe, but I'm not entirely sure on that one, so again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I've tried it and it didn't really seem like it did, but if you have evidence to the contrary, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So apart from those two paths, you're going to be want to be picking something else, but every other path, this is probably one of the best that you can pick, in my opinion, especially if you have other blessings that are scaling your path resonance damage. Next up, we have the Society Ticket that increases cosmic fragments received after battle by 75%. This is a pretty good, straightforward curio that is good early, bad late. If you can manage to get these in early stages, you're already on track to having a pretty strong run. Next up, the Faith Bond reduces the cosmic fragments required by leveling up blessings and resetting down characters by 30%. I'd put this one in the bottom of top tier, maybe top of good tier. Even if you get this late, you can enhance an extra 1 or 2 blessings, which can really give you that extra bit of power you may need. But it's pretty good. I'm going to put it... put it at the top of the decent tier. Next up, we have Robe of Beauty, which increases damage dealt by all allies by 16% for every 100 cosmic fragments. This one can be great if you get it early enough so you can plan your run around it, but sometimes it may still be better to use cosmic fragments to enhance some key blessings rather than going all in on the Robe of Beauty. I'd put this one in it can go in like good early, bad late, maybe even situational. It really depends on what blessings you get, and if you get the right blessings, you might want to enhance those rather than hoarding for the robe here. So this one's a pretty hard one to use in my opinion, but it can be pretty good if you get it early enough to plan your run for it. Next up, we have the Gold Coin of Discord. This is a pretty standard econ curio that is good early, bad late. It gives you 6% of your current cosmic fragments as a bonus every time you enter the following domain. So pretty straightforward, good early, bad late. There we go. Next is the Voidwick Trimmer, which is a pretty interesting one in my opinion. It allows you to repair up to 2 destroyed curios and restore their uses. So this is great if you've previously obtained curios like the Fortune Glue, the Dimension Reduction Dice, Basket of Inaccuracy, etc. But it's pretty rare that you run into a situation where this curio would be useful. So it could go in the bad tier, but I'm probably just going to put it in the situational tier, since its usefulness is highly variable on what curios you've picked previously. But you're definitely going to run into a lot of situations where it basically does nothing. So just be mindful of check your curios before picking this one up. Next up, we've got Record from Beyond the Sky, which I think is yet another bait. This one nullifies all damage received except for dot until the character is attacked. So for boss fights, this effect really makes very little difference in the long run, since those fights are going to tend to drag out a lot longer, and the effect of this isn't really going to matter. So I'd recommend just not picking this one. You're probably better off picking pretty much anything else. Next up, we have the Entropic Die, which levels up 2 random blessings. This can be seen as being worth at least 180 cosmic fragments, even if it targets random blessings, which is pretty good. And on the upside, it can even possibly enhance a 3-star, 2-star blessings, which gives you really good value. So I'm putting this put this kind of like in the bottom of best tier. It's pretty high variance, but even in the low variance, even at the lower end of the variance, it's still offering you pretty decent value. It's essentially for people that want more gacha in their gacha game. And speaking of gacha, our next curio is like the ultimate choice for gacha addicts. The Shining Trap... I don't have no idea how to say this. The Shining Trapezohedron Die replaces all your curios with random ones. Considering that it can mess you up pretty badly if you get an off-path wax seal or something like that, I'd recommend really just not picking this one if you're actually serious about completing a run. If you just want to mess around, by all means, but don't say I didn't warn you. I guess it can be kind of useful if you have a punishment curio or you got a bunch of garbage that you want to get rid of, but 90% of the time, this is just going to be bad, and probably one of the worst things that you can pick in your simulated universe run. Next, the Shattered Star Bait increases movement speed on the map by 25%, which honestly is pretty irrelevant, but it also advances characters' actions by 10% after they act, which is the more relevant effect here. So it's not bad and kind of goes around the middle of the decent tier, I'd say. Next up, we have the Obliteration Wick Trimmer, which increases all allies' damage by 3% for every destructible object that has been destroyed. The existence of this curio means you should always be destroying every object you see, even if it's like a healing or a technique vial that you don't think you need. If you pair this with other curios like the Omniscient Capsule, which increases the appearance of destructible objects, and get it early enough, the Wick Trimmer can be seriously OP. So I think this one is a very good curio. I put it, you could go like near bottom of best, top of the good tier. Somewhere around here. This is not super exact, but yeah, put it around there. Next up, we have the Insect Web. You can get this only through a certain event where you have to choose to dive into the insect nest. This curio gives the character with the highest attack a 50% attack buff, but it also makes that character lose 20% of their current HP at the start of every turn. If you have good healing, shielding, and sustain, This can be pretty good, as that 50% attack buff is nothing to sneeze at. But I'm going to put this one in the situational tier, because there are definitely times when you don't want to pick this. Because it can really make your main DPS character much more vulnerable. Alright, next we have the Angel type IOU dispenser. This one stops you from receiving cosmic fragments at the end of battles. After this happens 5 times, it will double the amount of cosmic fragments you have. This is best to get around the middle of your run after you've stockpiled a few cosmic fragments, but you need it early enough that you'll still have 5 battles remaining to fight before the last boss. I'd say this goes in the situational tier. It can be super good, but a lot of times when presented with this, you're probably not going to want to pick it. It really depends, though. Really situational one. Next up, we've got the Laurel Crown of Planar Shifts, which essentially gives you 1 mulligan. If you die at a non-boss battle, it will be considered a victory and your run will continue. But let's be honest, if you're dying at non-boss fights, you're probably not going to make it very far anyway. So there's another trap. Just don't bother. It's basically a waste. Next, the Space-Time Prism increases all of your character's Eidolon resonance by 1. Depending on the characters you're using and the Eidolons you have on them, this could be pretty big. Getting to the next Eidolon level could be really good if your next Eidolon on your certain characters is going to be, one that makes them super OP. So kind of be aware of what your character's next Eidolon buff would be, and if it's something that you can really benefit from, maybe prioritize this one a little bit more than usual. But either way, this one is probably one of the best. For this, maybe bottom of best. Again, it really depends, but I'd say like even in the worst scenario, it's probably maybe bottom of the best tier. Next up, we have the Galactic Big Lotto, which is yet another curio for you gacha addicts. After destroying Indestructible, there is a chance of receiving 1 curio, but also a chance of destroying the lotto ticket and all your characters losing 99% of your HP. Getting random curios is okay, but you don't want to hit certain things like the wax seals most of the time, and a lot of times there's a lot of junk here, as you can see, so random curio doesn't really offer that much value. And losing 99% of your HP can kind of mess you up in certain cases, but it really depends. If your team has, good shielding or good healing, then it's really not that much of a downside. I'd say this one's decent, but kind of like at the bottom of decent. It's pretty inconsistent and offers you not so great value. I think some people might consider it bad tier, but it kind of really depends on your situation a little bit. Next up, we have the Omniscient Capsule, which, as we mentioned before, along with the Wick Trimmer, it makes Destructibles appear more frequently, which means more Cosmic Fragments. This one is just good. Put it in the middle of the best tier there. Next up, we have the Punk Lord Mentality, which adds 1 weakness of the same type as allies on the field. This sounds great until you realize that this buff or debuff only lasts for 3 turns. So again, curios that don't help much in boss fights have very low value in my opinion. The Punk Lord Mentality is no exception here. And although I'd put it in bad tier, it's probably one of the more useful ones, even if it doesn't offer that much value. And our last curio that's currently in the game is Beacon Coloring Paste, which randomly levels up 1 blessing among the selected. This curio is great early, as you'll probably get at least 1 or 2 upgraded blessings for free, and offers pretty decent value in my opinion. But you're going to want to get this one early, as with other curios and other things that I mentioned. Yeah, I'll put it in decent tier, since the randomly leveled up blessing is, it's pretty high variance. You can usually get maybe like 1 or 2 good values out of it. So it represents maybe around like 100 cosmic fragments on average, which is still pretty decent. Obviously, the earlier you get this one, the better. But there we go. That's it for all the curios that are currently in the game. Hopefully, Hoyoverse adds a bit more curios, or maybe adjusts some of the bad ones over time so that they're, maybe a little bit more useful. But I hope this helps you in your runs moving forward. If you like this kind of simulated universe content, remember to subscribe and hit that like button. I plan to come out with more guides, especially around the specific paths in Simulated Universe. So stay tuned for those guys. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.